Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Friday Morning at the Fun House alongside the most fun human being on the face of the earth, Mr. Martin Popoff.
Morning, sir. Morning, sir. Ready, ready,
Yep.
ready to roll here again on a very snowy last couple of days here in Toronto. We're supposed to get a lot more. We got a foot of snow on the ground now. So
Wow. You are sending that our way because we've had lots of snow, but not like major inches at a clip, but like lots of, I keep calling this like this new term now, snow events. We've had lots of snow events this year, but not like tons of snow. But I
right,
think what you've been getting the last day or two is hitting us tomorrow, and we're supposed to get pounded all weekend. And then
wow,
another one mid next week. So it's like, yeah, this has been like a real winter, not like these fake winters we've had the last couple of years. So it's
yeah,
definitely,
absolutely
and
for
it's
sure.
chilly. Woo, chilly, chilly,
Yeah,
chilly.
I
You
know,
know,
I know.
but yeah, lots of white. I took my car to the car wash this morning for the first time I think all season because it was like caked up dirt and salt on it. It was just looking, and
Yeah,
I have I have a white vehicle as I nearly choked, so it was looking kind of gnarly.
yeah,
So it was good to get all that stuff off. Anyway, we digress. Today we are talking about, because we like to do this every year, even though half the audience says, "Why do you waste your time talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?" And the other are like, "Pete, Martin, when are you guys going to talk about the nominees list for the Hall of Fame, for the Rock and Roll Hall
yeah,
of Fame?"
yeah.
So we do it every year because it's fun. We realize it's doesn't really mean a hell of a lot, but it's always interesting to kind of rant on the nominees list, what's rock and what's not, and why wasn't this band inducted, a million years ago? Why are they even being considered? That whole thing. So we're going to go through that today for you, and just kind of as we always do, just kind of talk about what we think, who we would put in if we were in charge of the nominations, and just kind of talk a little bit about some of these acts and are they deserving, are they not, and all that sort of thing. So we've kind of split the list up in half. Let me just get the nominees banner up here so you guys can see it. I got the Prezi thing going. So there is everybody, but we're going to talk about them one at a time, and I'll have Martin kick us off with them. We're going to go alphabetical. So we're going to start
Yeah.
with B, and I'll turn it over to Martin.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm not a big hater of the Hall. I kind of I think they do a pretty good job over time. It's nice that there's this variety in here. Obviously, very different than the Grammys and things like that. There's a lot of award shows things that I don't think make a lot of sense, but I think this more or less makes sense. So starting with the first one that I think really does make sense, it's good to see Bad Company in here. So we got a few Bad Company items here to pop around. We've got some later material here, some lots and lots of kind of reissuey kinds of things they do. Here Comes Trouble. So we've got that later era. And, this is a band that I think this is a first time one in here. So in this, we've got a lot of repeat nominations, but I think it's very cool. That Paul Rogers definitely deserves to get in
Oh,
some form
100%.
or
Yeah.
another as well. This cover off free? Should it have been Bad Company free? I don't know. But yeah, we've got a debut at 5 times platinum. Straight Shooter went 3 times platinum. Run with the Pack platinum. Burning Sky gold. Desolation Angels, they came back. Kind of like a slight reinvention, I suppose. Double platinum. And then the cool thing is they had this later Brian Howe era, so they got these. They almost have like a massive start, part of the whole swan song Peter Grant situation. So they've got that machine behind them, and then they have that slight second wind with Desolation Angels, and then they have a third wind with the Brian Howe era with Dangerous Age going gold. I don't like these albums very much at all, but Holy Water going platinum, Here Comes Trouble going gold. So it's almost like a Ted Nugent and Damn Yankees situation in a way, where you've got this. So it's a long career. They've had a lot of there's been a lot of drama in the band, some infighting, a lot of I think the band. Well, the band, Mick Ralphs is incapacitated, but we've got Simon and Paul. I think Simon would like to have Bad Company all the time, sort of thing, and Paul's always kind of on off demurred about the whole thing being around. But yeah, and he's got a solo career as well. But it's just a big institution, a big hard rock, a lot of massive classic rock hits. People say Foreigner is like the second coming of Bad Company. So there's this interesting sound that they've got. They've just been around forever, big institution. So it's good to see the Hall going for some of these bands that are a little bit not critically acclaimed in the hard rock realm, in the commercial rock realm sort of thing, because we always constantly complain that these bands are or the bands that get in are the critically acclaimed Rolling Stone darlings of bands. And so this is a bit of a surprise choice, but it's I think the statistics are there, and for a first time, hopefully they get in. So there you go, Bad Company.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And again, I probably know the answer to this. A lot of times when they induct these, legacy bands who have had later lineups that don't include, some of the original members, it is everybody going to go in? Like if they win, obviously you got Paul and Simon are still around, right? And Mick can obviously accept the award, but are any of the later lineups going to be included? My guess is not. It's probably we're talking the original. Of course, Boz is no longer with us. But yeah, I mean, you
Neither is
can't.
Brian, right? That's an important one. Brian House.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll wait and see. But I mean, 40 million albums worldwide. I 100% agree with you that Paul Rogers should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in some capacity or another, whether it's with Free, Bad Company, or solo. I mean, he's a legend. He should be in there, and he should have been there a long time ago. It's really strange too, Martin. That I mean, I know Paul's had a couple strokes, right? But it's amazing that they never did another studio album. Since they started playing together again, it's been like all these years now.
Yeah.
And because he still puts out solo stuff every so often, right? So why couldn't they do a
Yeah.
Bad Company album? I don't know. It's weird. That would never happen.
Yeah. All
So.
right. So the next one. So yeah, just to explain, I guess I'm doing the start of the first half, and Pete's doing the back end alphabetically of the first half. So Black Crowes is next. I think Black Crowes is a perfect choice to go in as well. I think this band just has a lot of a lot of credibility. We've got the big early albums. These are the classics where everybody was super excited about the Black Crowes in the early 90s. They're the second coming of the Faces and all this, fixing hair metal the same way Guns N' Roses apparently fixed hair metal, right? And then you've got more. I've got piles and piles. I mean, the cool thing about this band, they're almost like a Pearl Jam in that they stayed prolific, they stayed touring, they became a cult band. Obviously some friction between the brothers situation, but I just think this band had a ton of credibility, which is also shown by Jimmy Page playing with them as well. And just a great jam band. Obviously, deep musicologists, really cool productions, daring writing, just a band with a ton of integrity. That you might not have thought right out of the gates that are they artists, are they not artists, kind of things. I hear that they started out as more of like a Paisley rock band to begin with, and then they kind of discovered this idea. But yeah, you get to Southern Music Harmony, whatever it's called. What is this called? Southern Harmony and Musical Music. Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, it's just at that point they are just like forging their own path. It's a really cool path. What I like about this band is when a band goes and plays really roots oriented, conservative, the history of rock and roll music. It's good when they're interesting about it, right? And it's not just straight blues or straight roots rock like a Tom Petty kind of thing. I mean, Black Crowes were always super, super interesting. And that's kind of a cool thing about them. So there you go. Black Crowes, I think this is a perfect choice.
Yeah, very unique band, and take away the 30 million albums they sold, right? I think that they always did their own thing. You really could never pigeonhole them into any one kind of style. Are they Southern rock? Are they jam band? Are they just classic rock and roll? Are they rootsy rock? Are they
Yeah.
blues? They do like a little bit of everything, hard rock. And I always love that about them. And every album is a little bit different than the one that came before it. And, the really cool thing about them, it's like, they went away for a whole bunch of years and then they came back, released a new album, went out on tour, selling out everywhere. People still remember them. People still love them. And just a great, great live band too. So yeah, I think it's an absolutely fabulous choice for this
Yeah.
year's
And I
nomination.
forgot to mention, so the debut went 5 times platinum,
Yeah.
double platinum for the second one, gold, and then they had a couple of gold live albums. So they didn't really sell a lot of records after
No.
that original hype thing. It is kind of definitely like a Pearl Jam where the coolness factor actually went up as the record sales went down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure.
all right. So our next choice is Mariah Carey. I went and checked in my CD package to see if I had any Mariah Carey. Sadly, I don't have any Mariah Carey, but next to it was a bunch of Carcass stuff, so I thought I'd show all my Carcass signed CDs. There you go. So this is a band that should be in the Hall of Fame as well.
There you go. Yeah.
So this was all sitting there taking up the space that all my Mariah Carey albums should have been at. But anyways, there you go. So yeah, massive artist. I cannot believe, just looking into it, how many records she sold. So the debut goes 9 times platinum. The second one goes 4 times platinum. I'm gonna have to scroll here a little. Music Box is Diamond, Merry Christmas, 9 times platinum. Of course, she's known as the Christmas Queen. Yep. And then on and on. There's even the next one, Daydream 95, Diamond again. So 2 Diamond albums, 2 on the verge of Diamond. They probably are Diamond if you went back and added in Spotify plays and stuff. Right?
Oh, for sure.
To get it over the top, those 2 that are at 9. And then on, like many multi-platinum albums after that. Apparently 220 million records worldwide. Yep. What I like about her as well, if you can believe this, I mean, in this world that there's a lot of subterfuge and collaboration and stuff. But I looked at the credits of a lot of her stuff, and she writes her own stuff. There's a lot of writing of all her own lyrics, a lot of collaboration, obviously, with producers and music writers and stuff. I mean, I looked at some of the later albums; it just gets ridiculous in this field, right? You see a song, it's got like 7 writers on it, right? Yeah. But that's kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, rock or not, I think it's perfectly fine. All these people, what I tend to think sometimes with all these people is they're in the same business as rock bands, right? They're out there, they're on tour, they're tour buses and microphones and amps and live, ticket sales, record sales. It is the same business. So I think it's fine and absolutely a sales juggernaut. So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool choice.
Yeah, I mean, this is the hard part about kind of grappling with this whole idea. Obviously, it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. No one will argue that Mariah Carey really isn't rock. But to your point, Martin, it's part of the music business. You can't look at, and I wrote some factoids down here, 11 consecutive years of having a U.S. #1 hit song. One of the best-selling holiday albums of all time. 220 million records sold worldwide. Most #1 hit singles by a solo artist, a total of 19, 12 consecutive platinum plus albums in the US, and as you mentioned, a few of them are diamond, 10 million copies sold. I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? Can you deny this woman needs to be in a Hall of Fame of some sort that has to do with music? You just can't, right? Logically, realistically, like there's no way you can keep this person out. Whether it's rock and roll or not, we can argue all day long, but it's just like you can't deny the mega superstardom of this artist. You just can't do it. Whether you like her or not, I don't own anything by her, right? So I don't listen to her music, but just using my head, I'm like, how do you not put someone like this in when you have all other artists like her who have already gotten in, right? Because the precedent has already been set.
Yeah. And I think she was previously nominated as well. So there's a lot with this group that have been previously nominated. So it sort of seems to be like sort of a catch up year. But and speaking of catch up, the next one is Chubby Checker, 83 years old, still with us, 16 albums. I think the idea here, yeah, exactly. It's the twist, which is, this is what I don't like about this nomination, but I understand why. it should go in. So The Twist was a cover. Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. Let's Twist Again is a cover. That's his biggest hit, apparently, 1962. Calman and Dave Appel. He's not a writer of his own material, and that always kind of bothers me, sort of thing. But it just feels like I like when they fill in the gaps, the mortar between the bricks, and get all the originals in that should be in. It's obviously a massive name, so it's kind of cool that he would be nominated. But yeah, there's not a lot there. It's kind of funny how Let's Twist Again is 1962. So at that point, it's like a music that is on its way out, sort of thing. It's about to be cavalcaded by the Beatles at that point, right? So there you go, Chubby Checker.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with Chubby Checker. I know, kind of a legend, but seems to me kind of like a one-trick pony type of thing. But I don't know. I'm on the fence with. I may say no to Chubby for this round.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. All right, the next one is Joe Cocker. We got a Joe Cocker album here, and again, same kind of thing. I'm not. I've never been much of a fan, but the thing that just bothers me, and maybe it's just me. I've just got a thing with this, but just doing covers all the time and not writing your own material. He wrote songs, of course, obviously along the way. Guy made 22 albums. He died in 2014 at the age of 70. His first two albums were from 1969, and they both went gold, but he never had another certifier after that. Obviously, a little help from My Friends, Beatles song. That's kind of the big thing that kicks things off. The Voice, the live stance, the Saturday Night Live making fun of him, right? I think it was John Belushi that did it, right?
Yep.
I believe, yeah. So crazy guy, crazy look to him. But yeah, he made a lot of records over the years. I think a lot of people think he should be in, but it just bothers me so much about, especially if you're a lead singer and your name's on the tin and it just says Joe Cocker, you should be writing the songs as well. It just bothers me. I keep thinking Airhead, I just keep thinking like, look, you got nothing to say. So what you're saying is things other people said, sort of thing. It just really kind of bothers me. So I'm not crazy about this choice.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's got a great voice, and he's done some, he's had some massive hits, but so many of them were covers. So many of them were collaborations with others, especially like in the 80s and early 90s. He was, riding high, but it's mostly they were, he was collaborating with other people and other vocalists and stuff. Yeah, I dig him, but I'm not sure I would put him in yet either. So
yeah. Okay. Our next one is Billy Idol. I've always liked Billy as a person. We've got some they had 3 albums as Generation X. I was actually playing some of this morning, the third album after this one. And there's some good stuff on there, some good heavy stuff. But yeah, this is it's funny, among the punks, this is a band where everybody thought this should have been way better, because it's kind of a little poppy and blondie-ish, almost a little bit retro. It's not that great, but of course he breaks out as a solo artist. The other thing about the early days, and I find this with a lot of bands, maybe there's a show here of some sort, because I noticed this with certain heavy metal bands. We talk about Eric Blooms and Donald Roser singing, right? Buck Dharma, right? So Billy's singing is not particularly punky. He's just got a real croony sort of voice, right? But yeah, he breaks out as a solo artist. The first album goes gold. Rebel Yell, the one we all love with Steve Stevens on there, goes double platinum. And then Whiplash Smile is platinum. Charmed Life is platinum. He's got a couple of platinum greatest hits albums, which is always, shows some sort of stability there. Or a foundation, Vital Idol and Greatest Hits. He made 4 more records from 93 to today. It's not a lot, but at least he didn't quit, sort of thing. Here's a few more here. So we've got Storytellers, right? So that's the other thing about Billy. He's kind of he's a great personality. He's a brand. He has that look. So he's like a walking, talking cartoon character. He's funny. He's a good actor. He's been in movies. He's been in commercials and stuff. So that's all kind of cool too. I think the world just basically likes Billy Idol, and I like him too. I think he's pretty cool, and I like those records. I think it was a kind of a cool sound they did. It's a little bit. What I like about it is it reminds me a little bit about the same reason people were excited about The Cult even before Electric, like on Love, right? Where it's like it's like a slightly new wavy, dancey version of, oh, but there's some guitars in here. It's a little hard rocky at the same time, right? Which we all liked. We liked that it was an actually a loud sounding band making this commercial music kind of thing. So that was cool about Billy Idol. So there you go. Yeah, I'm happy with this pick.
Yeah, I am too. I think he's just kind of an iconic figure and such a big part of the 80s music scene. We have to take into account like how popular his videos were on MTV because that's a whole part of that whole era. And he had 11 top 50 radio hits in the US. That's pretty good. Yeah, and he's just such a iconic figure. Like you said, the look and the way he talks and just it's he's an icon, I think. Whether you really love his music or not, I think it's just such a big part of the 80s music scene. And lots of album sales and lots of popular videos, lots of singles. Yeah, I put him in as well.
Yeah. He's kind of like a brand the way that Lemmy's a brand or ZZ Top
Yeah,
a brand
kind of.
from
Yeah,
the from
exactly.
the early
Yeah,
80s, right? So
yeah.
okay, so my last one for a leadoff one is Joy Division New Order. So there's my Joy Division catalog. There's the debut, Unknown Pleasures. There's Closer, the second one. There's the posthumous compilation Still. Um, but yeah, so this morning I ended up playing a bunch of New Order again and decided again I still don't like New Order. I just don't like that band. I'm just so bored of them, right? I don't know. But they had 10 albums. New Order did. 1989's Technique went gold. 1993's Republic went gold. The Substance 87 went platinum. And I don't like these messy sort of one band linked to another band thing. It also, it gets into that whole people getting in as a person besides the band that they got in, and it gets kind of messy. But I understand, this is a fairly unique situation. Obviously, we lose Ian Curtis on the eve of an American
Early
tour. Joy
on, yeah.
Division only makes the two albums. Super influential. Actually, both bands are super influential bands. Joy Division, you can argue that they're a little bit overrated, the same way I would put them in a class with Velvet Underground. I don't think they're overrated, but that whole idea of everybody claims as an influence. But I think when you combine Joy Division with New Order, there is a definite post-punk integrity to what you've got going there. New Order, it gets a little dancey kind of thing, but they start off really as just an evolution from Joy Division. It's very sparse music. It's a little bit very, very simple synthesizery, simple drums, simple bass, simple guitar, everything's simple on it, right? But just kind of like a really, intriguing sort of package. People, still don't stop talking about Joy Division. There's just so much on them all the time. So yeah, you put the two together, and it's a pretty big deal. It's a cool pick, but I don't know. I'm almost even though I'm a huge fan of Joy Division, I almost feel like this is a little bit too obscure, and there's other bands that are way less obscure that I think that should go in before Joy Division, New Order.
Yeah, I have a hard time with forming an opinion on this because neither band appeals to me whatsoever. So to me,
Right.
this is kind of a puzzling pick, but I know so many people, find great influence in either band. They're both a little bit different from each other, but to me, I would have to say no here based on my personal preference. But if they did get in, it wouldn't surprise me because I know they're cited as such a huge influence on the style of music that both bands did, both kind of a little bit different. And I know New Order became a fairly big band, right? I mean, that song Blue Monday was everywhere when that came out. But yeah, so
Cool.
not much of an opinion on this one, unfortunately. All right, so to start off my half of the list, we're going to go with Cyndi Lauper. And honestly, I think this situation is very similar to the Billy Idol. Like you mentioned, she kind of became a brand on her own. And I mean, 50 million albums sold worldwide. I was astonished when I read that. That's way more than I thought. Two Grammy Award wins. I mean, her debut album, She's So Unusual, was 7 times platinum here in the US. She had 8 top 10 singles in the US. She acted, pretty good actor too, I might say. She's popped up in a lot of places over the years. And I think just the look and the voice, and she's funny and quirky, and she's done a lot of like humanitarian stuff. Here's another one that maybe she's more of a pop artist, but almost kind of a no-brainer picking. And like I said, kind of like Billy Idol, kind of like a cultural type of phenomenon in the pop music world. So I wouldn't have any issue with Sydney getting in. She did the wrestling thing right too, like back in the 80s. So I mean, she's kind of popped up all over the place, and she's made herself like a kind of like a popular icon across different mediums and whatnot, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, I wouldn't have an issue with Sydney getting in.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, the comparison to Billie Eilish, I remember massive excitement over her. With that early hit situation. Girls just want to have fun, and the
Yeah.
look and all that, the videos and that. And you're right. She's stuck around. She's participated in the industry. She's always kind of been around and kept that brand sort of going. So yeah, pretty cool pick.
Yeah. All right, the next one I got to admit I know absolutely nothing about. So this is a Mexican band, Latin American band called Manya. I don't even know how they pronounce their name, but
Yeah.
they are the most successful Latin American pop band of all time. They have sold 25 million albums and they've won 4 Grammy Awards pretty quietly, I might add, because I've never heard of them whatsoever. And it's probably more of like a cultural thing across Latin America. This band is huge, but then they've been around for like 40 some odd years. Mostly a pop band, but they do like they've done lots of different Latin styles of music. And honestly, I don't know much about them, Martin. I don't know if you do as well, but
Well, all I know about them is what I learned today, and I went and played some of their music, and I hated it. I mean, it is basically like Jimmy Buffett music with a little bit of Latin. It's really poppy, and what sort of disappointed me the most is like the picture they have them on Spotify. They look like a grizzled old bad company, right? The guys, oh, maybe they're a cool rock band, right? Maybe this is my new favorite band, and I played a bunch of it, and I just kept thinking Jimmy Buffett, Peter Cetera,
wow.
Don Henley. I don't know, just everything that sort of annoyed me, and just the production values and everything. It was really commercial sounding,
Wow.
right, compared to what they looked like, kind of thing.
And if
So
you go and you look at some of their earlier photographs from like earlier in their career, they look like a 90s boy band. So
oh
you look
yeah,
at them now,
okay,
it's completely different. Yeah, it's very strange. So, but
yeah,
I'd never
yeah,
heard of them. That's a lot of records sold for a band that, that probably the average person would have never known. So,
yeah. I think our favorite Latin rock band is Sepultura. I mean, does that count? Is South America Latin? I don't know, maybe not, but
yeah, well,
yeah. Well, Latin
Central
rock. What
America,
did
I
I mean?
guess, is
Central
the
America, Mexico.
South
You know,
American.
I guess to be a Latin rock band, a lot of them are actually from America, even, right? So yeah.
All right, next up is Oasis, perhaps the most successful British pop rock synth pop band of all time. Over 75 million copies sold, 8 US number one singles, 8 number 1 UK albums, beloved. I think they're definitely bigger back home in the UK than they are here, but still a pretty big band here, and notorious for the two brothers battling as they are for the music, and of course making a comeback in recent days, which is kind of ironic that that's the year they get nominated. But I think I'm not a fan personally. I have no use for this band, but I know they've got so many. Popular and iconic songs and albums, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they got in. Probably wouldn't be my pick per se, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with a lot of these picks, the hall is thinking kind of a little mercenary about this whole thing. It's like, who will show up, who will get together, will they play, will they show up, kind of thing, right? So I think they're sometimes they're thinking of the show, but in this case, this is a good solid pick. I mean, they're just a massive band. People have said, well, I guess what I'm hearing most is that the biggest band out of the UK of all time is not the Beatles anymore. It's Queen, but Oasis is often talked about
Yep.
in that conversation as well. So I mean, certainly probably in the top three bands most beloved by the UK, which is a big music market and obviously a big maker of music. They punch way above their weight in terms of cultural impact. But yeah, I'm not a massive fan as well. I try every once in a while. I don't like the singing. I don't like the lyrics. I don't like the guitar. I don't like the writing. I don't like the production values. It's generally it's a guitar, bass, and drums band, generally speaking, but there's just something kind of like annoying about all the frequencies and stuff. It's just I don't know. It's just something about them. It's all aspects of it except just the phenomenon, the album covers, the interviews. They're great in interviews, but I just something about the music they make is just I just find
Bland.
it
It's bland.
bland. Yeah, it's all attitude, and it's almost like all the greatness is in them talking about how great they are,
Yeah.
rather than the music itself. And then the mania around the live shows sort of thing. But and then even live, I hear all these complaints about how loud they are, and there's the surliness, right? And then the surliness causes, it's a bad vibe thing, but you're supposed to like get good vibes from the bad vibes of it, right? Kind of thing. So, but yeah, solid choice. Just a massive, massive band. So I think it's a good one.
Yeah. All right, next up we have OutKast, which is the hip hop duo of Big Boy and Andre 3000. Only have a few records, but 20 million sold worldwide, 6 Grammy Awards, 8 top 10 songs on the US rap charts. Again, another artist that I'm not a rapper hip hop fan, so I don't really know much about these guys, but most of what you hear and read is that they were highly influential on the scene. So, yeah, depending on what you feel about rap or hip hop getting in, I think everybody knows my opinion on that. To me, it doesn't belong. They do have the Rap and Hip Hop Hall of Fame, but hey, whatever. But a influential band to many, and yeah, we'll see what happens here. But that's about all I can say on it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just looking here. They're platinum for their debut, double platinum for their second one, triple platinum for the third one, 5 times platinum for the next one,
Yeah.
13 times platinum for the next one, and then platinum for Idlewild 2006. Yeah, massive, massive band. I mean, I guess you got to fill in again. Same sort of thing is like over time, keep the variety up, slowly fill in the gaps with this. I just think it's just cool that the hall comes back every year, and there's like a big bunch. And I always liked that rule about it's got to be 25 years since your debut, so you get these bands, they've been around, and we get to see how big they have been. We get to see a story. So I think it's just a good methodology they have of there's this big bank of bands every year that everybody can consider across all rock and roll things. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right, next up, we're going to go to the jam band scene for Phish. So this is an interesting and an inspired pick. I mean, this is one of the most popular and influential of all the jam band scenes, of course, greatly influenced by the Grateful Dead. Noted for their extensive tours, festival appearances. They got a good amount of studio albums, but they got tons of live albums. Their first 6 studio albums were all certified either gold or platinum here in the States, which is, something for this style of music. But they're one of these bands that, they still release albums that maybe are not selling quite on the levels that they used to, obviously, but they still go out and play live, and they play like all these very famous like New Year's Eve shows and holiday shows. They're big on the festival circuit. They play a lot of open air, outdoor venues and things like that, a lot of the jam festivals and things like that. So, and there's so many jam bands out there today, and they all cite Phish as probably like their number one or number two influence. So I like them personally. I don't know if they're going to get in or not, but I think it's an inspired pick. To me, they're one of these bands that I think the studio albums are okay, but as with this style of music, it's the live stuff, right? The live albums that I like to hear. I've never seen them live, but people go see them tour after tour after tour. And hearing some of the live albums, I can totally see why. That's where the music really comes to life. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting pick. I'm not quite sure they're going to get in. Would it be cool if they got in? I think so. But we'll see, because this style of music is like, I mean, we've already, Dave Matthews, he was already, nominated, right? And you can kind of see the appeal on a grander scale of this sort of music. I think these guys are more into the jam band scene than Dave Matthews, but it's all kind of part of the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see if we've got more coming up after this. But I think it's a nice kind of kick off for the hall to at least acknowledge a band from the jam scene. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they were an absolute juggernaut for a while there, right? Everybody was pretty excited about them. I mean, I think it's a good people's pick. It's like
Yeah.
a the people's choice sort of band.
Yep.
Um, a good cultural sort of thing. And to me, I haven't spent enough time with these guys, but to me, this almost feels like a band that should be on the retirement pile. Along with Wilco. Wilco is another one of these bands that I absolutely want to spend more time with. So I would like to learn the catalog a little more. But yeah, I think if you had the whole voting thing, that thing has. Is that going to happen? I haven't seen anything about that. Right,
I
the
haven't
whole
either. Yeah, I would assume
voting
it
thing.
is, but yeah,
I don't know when maybe that happens after they announce them. I suppose it has to happen after the announcement. But I
they'll
just
do it
see these
after our
bands.
show, Martin. So it'll be
Yeah,
tomorrow.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, pretty cool pick. It's good to see again, like you say, just filling in the gaps of all the different cultural areas.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's an inspired pick, I think. And I kind of like this pick. Next up, we got Soundgarden. So, Martin, haven't they been on the list before? It seems like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, I was surprised they didn't get in. Yeah.
I am too. I think it's kind of about time. I mean, not a tremendously long career, but one of the leaders of the whole Seattle scene, whatever the hell you want to call it, you can call it the grunge scene. I think, a lot of people now, all these years later, kind of have moved on from calling Soundgarden a grunge band, but definitely heavy rock inspired by, Black Sabbath and some of the Led Zeppelin, some of the heavy bands of the 70s. But I mean, they've sold over 30 million albums worldwide, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, and 14 of that here in the US. And, like Bad Motor Scooter and Louder Than Love and all these iconic albums, from the scene. You got Chris Cornell, who became like this, kind of legendary vocalist who died way too young. And, I would find a spot for them here. Because I think if you're going to start, adding in people from the Seattle scene now, I mean, they're one of the top three, and so I kind of hope they get in from a personal standpoint because they are rock and roll without a doubt, and they were pretty big here for a number of years. So I hope they get in.
Yeah, I think they totally deserve to get in because they're just so creative. They're probably considered the biggest critics darling and the most creative band from that Seattle scene.
Yeah.
I would say I'm surprised to see the first two albums are not certified at all. That doesn't make sense to me. But then they go double platinum. Super Unknowns is 6 times platinum, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had all sorts of hits, and people just love them, and they're obviously just a good, heavy, creative band. I think they definitely should be in.
And no stinker albums in the catalog. I mean, every one of them is pretty damn good to great,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
yeah, let's hope. Let's hope they get it. All right. And last up, we have the White Stripes, right? The duo of Jack and Meg White, pretty much labeled as a garage indie rock band, kind of a pioneer to this sort of thing. They came up in the late 90s, 1997, during the alternative rock craze, and then broke up in 2011. They've got 6 albums. 4 went gold or platinum plus here in the States. Seven Nation Army became an alternative rock anthem classic. I've never been much of a fan, to be honest with you, but I know that especially, Jack White is hailed as a musical genius to a lot of people. He's done lots of solo stuff in the years since, dabbled in kind of like, Mississippi Delta blues and indie rock and whatnot. And I mean, can a band get in for like, because I mean, there's no doubt that Seven Nation Army is an absolute mega song. And can a band get in on the basis of one thing like that, forget everything else? It's very possible. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I know a lot of people who listen to a lot of different kind of music, and older, younger, and a lot of people dig what the White Stripes did. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of albums sold, pretty much a legendary band that probably, most people would have wanted to stay around a little bit longer, but we'll see. I don't know what your opinion is on these guys, but
Yeah, and then they were previously nominated. Jack's a legend at this point. I think again, some of this is comes down to will this cause a reunion, or at least a reunion for the Hall or whatever. It's cool to see the duo thing happen, right? The duo thing was kind of a cool thing, and that's a massive song. But yeah, it's this is a band that's getting they're one of the newer bands to be part of this whole thing. So it's like if they get in, it's them getting in really soon over a lot of previous
Yeah.
bands. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a little bothersome because as honorable mentions, I made a little list of to remind people the bands that are not in that should get in, and I think there's a lot that should get in before a lot of these bands still.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
I think, to your point though earlier about how The Rock thinks about the show, right? The awards ceremony show. What a coup it would be for them if the White Stripes get in and they get them to actual play together at the
Mhm.
show. That's like
Yeah.
a big deal. So you have to wonder if they've already talked to them about that. It's like, well, if we'll put you in if you guys play type of thing. So, I mean, we'll
Yeah.
see. But yeah, that would be a big deal for them. So, what are some of the bands that you'd like to see that still?
Well, I made a little bit of a list here, and forgive me if one or two of these did get in, and I've missed it. But Alice in Chains,
Yeah,
Blue Oyster Cult,
yep,
Boston,
yep.
the Cult, the big ones still. My big, I probably even said this last year as well. My big, I'd say two. Let me look here. So my big two, I think, are still Iron Maiden and Jethro Tull.
Yep.
I just think just loads and loads of records, loads of success, loads of
Yep.
tickets sold, all that kind of thing. Kansas, pretty
Yep.
massive. Kansas was huge. I mean, those two records, Left Overture and Point of No Return, big albums, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, King Crimson for the creativity and what
Yep.
that the whole craziness of that story over the years, and we see how much love there still is for them with the Beat Tour, right? Corn, Tool, Thin Lizzy, Uriah Heep. Uriah Heep's kind of an interesting one. I mean,
Yep.
that was a big band,
They were big. Yeah. The
72,
longevity too. Yeah.
73,
Yeah.
74. Yeah. Motorhead, Motley Crue. I people have talked about Iggy Pop, but I did kind of look and see. I guess the Stooges got in,
Yeah.
so I don't think Iggy Pop needs to go in separately. Um, Smashing Pumpkins, surprised to see that they're not in. I hope I got that right, but apparently they're not in, and I would put them over many of the bands
Maybe
this
it's
year.
a year thing because when was their first album?
No, it goes back far enough. I think it's
Yeah.
93 even. They
Okay.
go back way further than the White Stripes. White Stripes is 99.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just 25 years. So now 25 years is the year 2000, right?
I know. Crazy.
So and then Styx, I guess, is
Yep.
still
Yep.
not in. And
No.
Supertramp is still not in, right?
Right.
So Supertramp, I wonder if Supertramp's one of these bands that their star is kind of waned over the years, that they're a little more forgotten than a lot of these other ones, right? Um, I feel they're more forgotten than Styx in Kansas, certainly, or Uriah Heep. So Supertramp's getting to be a little iffy. They almost feel like they're just gonna end up under the rug and not get in, kind of thing.
Maybe is that because they've been away for so long?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah. So yeah, there's a big and I look at this year's batch, and I'm not crazy excited about any of this list. Like it's just not an exciting list with also considering how many have been previously nominated before, and that kind of puts the tarnish on,
Yeah.
or lowers the excitement level. But yeah, none of this is crazy exciting that I just yeah kind of
Yeah.
thing. I mean, obviously the bands that we love the most. I think for me, in our world, the most sensible band here is Bad Company. But and I like the Soundgarden pick. I mean, those two for me personally, that not thinking about the different styles, but I don't know who's at the top of your list these days.
That hasn't gotten in.
Yeah.
Well, you named most of them. I would add
Yeah.
Grand Funk Railroad to that list because
Okay.
Grand Funk was absolutely huge here in the States, sold a ton of records, a lot of ticket sales, lots of hit singles. So I would absolutely add them to the list. You covered all my other ones. As for this list, Speaking based in, like you said, our world, I mean, Bad Company, the Black Crowes, and Soundgarden are my three absolute favorites here. Uh, I would love to see Phish get in because I think that's really good. It kind of opens up a new avenue for the hall. Who I think is going to get in, I think Oasis is going to get in. It's again, I don't really like her, but it's hard to argue Mariah Carey. It really is.
Mhm.
But there's a couple choices here that like are to me are a little uninspiring. They're, decent artists and whatnot, but I don't know. So we'll see what happens though. We'll see.
To me, the greatest artists on here are Soundgarden and Black Crows. And I think I'm actually even more excited about Black Crows, come to think about it. I mean, I just think what they've done over the years, despite not massive record sales or whatever, people just love that band, and I think they deserve the respect they get. That catalog is just really, really classy.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. It's a
Yeah.
cool pick too, I think. And
Yeah.
how cool would it be getting them to play at the awards ceremony show? That I think that would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
All right, so down below, everybody feel free to list who you would put in here from this list. I know it's not the most exciting list in recent years, but and I know many of you think that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is a sham and it's not even worth our time. But it's always fun talking about this because again, you're more talking about the artist than anything else. Who gets in or not? Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. But Martin, what's going on over with Contrarians and the various podcasts and books and things like that? You got anything new and exciting happening?
Yeah. So, reminder that I do have an audio podcast called History in 5 Songs with Martin Popoff. You can just Google that. Contrarians, I've been keeping up that series of the reliving old reviews as a useless tool of confusion, plus the Who Invented Heavy Metal series. We've got about 5 episodes of that up now. Next is going to be MC5, I think, today. And then there's going to be a Led Zeppelin one. There's going to be a Stooges one coming up. And then martinpopoff.com for all the books. Nothing particularly new there. I'm going to have the Sweet repackaged back in stock again soon. So my Sweet book that's been out of print for a long time, and we're going to reconstitute. Eventually, we're going to reconstitute the Max Webster, the White Snake, the Accept, and the Merciful Fate as well, all through Weimer, my UK publisher.
Cool. And Martin, why don't you mention, because I did see the email you sent the other day, why don't you mention the little deal that you got going on with the Uriah Heep visual biography?
Oh, right. Yeah. So that one, I still have quite a few of those. And the last one I put out is like for American, and I think I put Canadian buyers only. Yeah, because of the weight of them. But buy the Uriah Heep book. It is expensive, but it's the biggest, heaviest book I have. It's like 500,
You
600
got one
pages.
handy, otherwise I'll go grab mine.
Yeah, I think I do. Let's just see here. Yeah, here we go.
It's a very cool book for those who haven't gotten it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, so this big monster of a book here. Buy this, and I will throw in. There's a short list there. You can just email me at martinp@inforamp.net. I've got a short list of 2 extra books that I'll throw in for free if you take a heap off my hands.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, folks, look down in the comments below of this video. I will post in the comments at the top all of the books that Martin's talking about, so you'll have all the details for this special deal for the Uriah Heep visual biography down below. And like I said, if you don't already have it, go get it. It's a really, really cool book. If you're a Heep fan, you need to own it. So we'll put that down below.
Thanks. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. What do we got coming up here on the channel? We got Ken Golden, of course, and the Professor's Picks coming up in just a couple hours. So that'll be this afternoon. Tomorrow, Jamie Laszlo and the review crew. It's an all Ohio review crew talking about all Ohio music. So if you're at all interested in the history of Ohio music, join the Ohio crew with Jamie tomorrow on the review crew. And then Sunday, ranking the albums, we've got a twofer for you, a double shot. Grant Arthur and I will be talking and doing 2 shows, reviewing 2 very short catalogs. The first one will be Neil Schon and Jan Hammer, the Schon Hammer group that released 2 albums. And then the second episode will be the Traveling Wilburys, who also released 2 albums. So 2 short little episodes just kind of talking about the 2 releases and how we view them against each other. So that's coming up on Sunday. So stay tuned for that. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks at the Fun House. For Martin Popoff, I'm Pete Pardo. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.